All right,
There
admit
you go.
all. Hello, everyone. And
Hi, everybody.
hi. Hello, everyone that's coming in.
Hello.
The meeting is being recorded if you're just coming in. Hello, hello.
Hi.
So happy to see everyone. My goodness, it is our ninth Folger community conversation. So happy to see everyone here. Just as a reminder, this is being recorded. Made sure of that this time. So happy to have you all. Just before we get started really quickly, I want to make sure that everyone, whether you're just on audio or just that you're able to see the screen, and that you also have either on your phone or on your computer, you're going to be able to access a document. We have it in Word document or PDF. It's just going to be central to today so that you can participate as fully as the Folger loves to have you participate. So if you can just make sure of those things in the next couple of minutes, even if you have to hop out, off, and hop back on, that will just serve you a little bit better tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Peggy.
I think we should take a few more minutes. Sorry.
Okay. No problem.
Just saying. Hi, everybody. I just want to wait a few more minutes.
Oh, yeah. In that case, let's see. Let me allow participants to unmute themselves. Welcome. Yep, I can repeat the directions. So if you are on your phone or if you've called in, dialed in on your phone with like the phone number, you may want to switch over to doing with the link. So that way you can see the screen. So long as you're able to see the screen, you should be fine. And we are going to send out later in the chat box a Word document or a PDF for you to open. The Word document would be better to open because you're going to be able to get in to the text with us, but a PDF will work just fine. So just make sure you're able to, right now, if you can see the screen that I'm sharing with you, then you're good to go. Yeah. And then Corinne has gone ahead and put that in the chat box as well. Thanks, Corinne.
Awesome.
No problem.
Okay, so let's start. Thanks, Miriam. Thanks a lot. Welcome to everybody. I only have a tiny part in this session tonight, which is great because I get to be in the class with everybody else. This is our second to the last, in this series of meetings, and our last meeting is June 3rd, which is next Wednesday, our last Wednesday meeting in the Wednesday series. We are also going to schedule a reunion on July 29th. We got some good feedback about that idea, so we'll let you know about all that. Wanted to just remind you of a couple of things that are on the webpage, in the Teaching During COVID webpage, right? Recordings of all of these sessions, recordings of all of the sessions of the breakout groups that met on their own time and talked about teaching Romeo, Hamlet, Midsummer, and Mac. All those sessions are available on the webpage. Also, the recordings, audio recordings of 7 full plays done by the Folger, also the video of Macbeth, also the wonderful Much Ado that was done by in the park last summer that was on great performances. The links to all of those are on the webpage. Those links are going to go on July 1st because we only have the free rights to those on July 1st. So if you want those and you want to download those, don't delay. You know how end of school things, everything goes kind of fast. I don't want you to lose those because we're not going to be able to get them after that. A couple of other things I want you to know about is there's on the webpage, there's a Spanish translation of the entire text of Macbeth. And there's the to be or not to be speech from Hamlet in 12 different languages. And those are some of my favorite things. So I'm just like telling you about those. So tonight, as promised, we are going to go through the Folger method and how you use the Folger method to teach works that are not Shakespeare. And actually, before we get into that, because Miriam and Corinne are gonna do the mainstay of that, I want to introduce you to Shantae Bryant. Shantae Bryant, wave where you are. She's a new member of the Folger Education team. She is on loan to us from collections from the Central Reading Room. And she knows more about rare books than we, she's forgotten more about rare books than we know. And we're really pleased to have her for a year in education. We're totally psyched. Miriam's going to start us off, and you know her well because she talks to us every week. Corinne Villetta is going to then do the bulk of this class. She is, and some of you have been in some of the sessions where she's done some of this work. She's the Associate Director of Education. She has a ton of brains and talent, and she's a terrific teacher, and a lot of her prowess is evident in all the stuff that Folger Education does. She also is really irreverent and hilarious. And so she's a great person to work with, and she will tell you that we are trying out some stuff with you all this week because we are an adventuresome group. So, Corinne.
Thank you, Peggy. I'm actually going to turn things over to Miriam because
I'm sorry.
No,
You
I
introduced
love
us
that. That was
perfectly.
like the highlight of my whole day. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was great. I'm done now. No, Miriam is going to do something amazing with the color purple.
Yes. So we have adapted this pre-read strategy to Zoom. And so we're going to do it the same way that we would with students. We're going to jump right on in. So in a moment, I'm going to share the screen with you. If your birthday is from January to June, you are going to be reading the odd lines in it. So 1, 3. And if your birthday is July to December, you are going to be reading the even lines. And we're going to go one right after another. So there are 50 words here. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure everyone can be unmuted right now. So you're all going to be able to unmute yourselves. And we're going to just start January to June. You're going to read in like the odds, and then July to December. So if everyone could unmute themselves, I'll give you a moment to unmute yourselves. Excellent. All right. January.
Dear.
And then one right after another.
Meeting.
Odd.
Holding.
Baby. Thicker. Letter. Sister.
Why?
Wonder.
Home.
Church.
Black.
White.
You.
People. Blood. Looking.
Buddy.
Mama.
Purple.
Red.
Children.
And. Time.
Pink.
Scared.
Ocean.
Missionary.
Porch.
Color.
Skin.
Africa.
Peak.
Eye.
Something.
Pretty.
Eyes.
Clothes.
Money.
Work.
Wash.
Laughing.
Myself.
Time.
Village.
Voice.
Ocean.
Village.
Story.
Thank you. And look at us, we gave you 60 words instead of 50. If you all would not mind just muting yourselves really quickly, and I would just ask for 2 volunteers. So if 2 people could raise their hands. Did I unmute you? Erin, if you could unmute yourself.
Yep, I'm good.
Perfect. And then if I could get, pat in my face, get 1 more volunteer. And if you're raising your hand and I happen to miss you, I apologize. It's because I'm just scrolling through.
I see Gina raising her hand.
Oh, I just unmuted John. John,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead, and Erin, you're going to do odds, and John, you're going to go ahead and do evens. We're going to go volley them back and forth.
Okay. Dear.
Meeting,
God.
holding,
Baby.
sick,
Sicker.
I,
Letter.
love,
Sister.
why,
Wonder.
home,
Church.
black,
White.
you,
People.
school,
blood,
took,
looking,
somebody,
mama,
purple,
red,
children,
land,
dress,
time,
think,
scared,
ocean,
missionary,
porch,
color,
skin,
Africa,
speak,
trying,
something,
pretty,
eyes,
clothes,
money,
work,
wash,
laughing,
finish,
myself,
mind,
live,
village,
dearest,
voice,
no,
amen,
folks.
story.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so now I want us to take a moment and I want us to think about keeping our student hats on. What did we notice about the language? And you can use the chat box to go ahead and write. And what did you notice about the language? And then if we want to have maybe one or two people unmute themselves and just share, what did you notice about the language? So I see some people in the chat box. Thanks, friends. Let's see. So I see simple but powerful. I tried to make pairings between words, invoking images, family words, lots of one-syllable words, mainly nouns. It's about relationships in a small town, and the relationships are contentious. Okay. Mostly Anglo-Saxon, most are 1 to 2 syllable words. Excellent, thank you. And contrasting language, intangible. And so now let's take a moment and also off our student hats, and then go ahead and put on your teacher hats. And what did you notice about this activity? Like Corinne told you the title of the book, but I actually didn't. I didn't say anything. What did you notice as a teacher about this activity? And you can use the chat box as well. Active. It's so hard to feel connected via Zoom. Felt good to read words with people, everyone involved actively. It was easy to participate. Family, predicting something about what the story can be about. No dramatic, no introduction is this one passage. These are important words in the story. Low stakes. As people read, the tone change. You heard different intonations. There was nothing from the dictionary. It wasn't tough to read. Can we allow you all to continue to most deal with day-to-day work experiences of the character in Color Purple? Some of you have read this. And it took finished words to get the rhythm, but we got it after that. Perfect. So I'm going to stop sharing really quickly just so y'all can stare at me. So this is tossing words is a Folger essential activity. It was fast, it was quick, it didn't require me to tell you anything about the color purple, it didn't require me to put up a PowerPoint to tell you anything about Alice Walker's background or the context. Like you as the kids were able to dive right into the text and already start to make your own meaning and already start to think about, what might this book be about? And you didn't even have the books in your hands. And so this is something that you can do with students, like as we've done it with Shakespeare. You see that we just did it with non-Shakespeare. You can do it as an easy, quick way of getting students inside the language, like right there, really quick and fast. And it sets the tone. It sets the tone that there's nothing fancy. Like you don't need to do anything big, anything extra. It just allows the students to make their own meaning. Corinne, is there anything I am leaving out?
So someone is asking the question that is a great question, and we always get asked this question. Dita, you're asking, do you have a strategy for choosing the words? And so we tend to pick just the most frequently used ones. So a lot of the texts that we teach are available online, like whether they're by living poets whose work is all over great websites and blogs and social media, or they're in the public domain, or we can, as teachers, we can find them. And then we just search the online text for the most frequently used words. Now, Shakespeare, we're lucky because there are concordances all over the internet and people have been looking at his word frequency for a while. But with other texts, you can do the same thing. You can look at words or images that really stand out in every chapter. And if you eventually want to have your students pick their own words as they're reading a book, you can have them do that as well and kind of revisit this later. But for this list, we looked at generally the most frequently used words, the words with the highest frequency count.
And if you notice also, the words aren't like the big vocabulary words. Like, I think that's something that a lot of you noticed. They were simple words. Because you've read the book, a lot of the words in there are like simple words. But you want to make it accessible to all students. So choosing like words that kids would have to look up, it doesn't make it accessible to all kids.
And what you and I talked about earlier today, Miriam, was really, I don't know, it could be helpful in thinking about this activity. We were talking about how the whole point of this activity is to help students own the language of the text before they read the text and to get out of the way as teachers. And someone in the chat box, I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, but someone said there's no big teacher in charge guiding the discussion. Students are connecting directly with the language. And I know for myself as a teacher, I used to want to like front load the vocabulary because I thought that was a great way to scaffold, or like model things ahead of time. But like, this is day one. Your students walk into the classroom and they're just tossing these words. So Miriam, you and I also were talking about what this looks like in a physical classroom. Oh dear, don't we all hope that we'll be back in a real live classroom one day. But what does this activity look like in a real space with other human beings?
Yes, so in a real space with this was clearly, and this was just one way to do it with Zoom, is having all of the words up in this manner. You could do it like with putting one word up at a time for students as well. But in a real classroom space, you could, as students are walking in your classroom, hand them one of these words on a slip of paper, have them walk around the classroom, get settled, say the word to themselves, and then form groups of about 5 or 6. You would give them like a bean bag, because there's something great about saying the word as you're doing like a physical action. So you give them a bean bag to toss the word to somebody else that's in their group, and you allow that to go on for a bit so they could like really hear the word and own the word and hear the words that their other people in their group are saying. If that answers that question.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tonight is all about giving all of you a chance to see how the Folger way of teaching literature can work with any text. And so obviously we don't have time to teach every text in the world, and we wish we did. But we're going to look at another text, and it's kind of a mystery right now. So first we're going to tell you about the technique that you're going to use, that we're going to practice. And then we'll give you the scene that you're going to be working with. You don't have to know anything about the scene that we're about to give you, and you don't have to know anything about the book that it comes from. You might teach this, you might have wanted to teach it for some time, or you might have never heard of it, and it's all good either way. So I need to tell you all that this is risky. This is an adventure. We have never done this before, and like every time we try new things, we renew our admiration and awe of all of you and what you do every single day with your students. So this is just to say, like, we're going out on a limb here. So we're all trying this new thing together. And this is the first time ever in Folger education history that we'll be using breakout rooms in a webinar. So get excited, everybody. Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. I actually had to like write up these instructions because technology. So here's the thing. If we were lucky enough to be in the same physical space with each other, with kids, with any human beings, I would hand each of you this scene, the scene that you're about to get. And presumably, if you were my students, you would have never read this scene before, right? The whole point of these activities is to do cold reads, right? This is how kids learn a text. This is how kids encounter a text and understand it. And I would ask you, after I handed you the scene, I would ask you to pair up. So each of you has a piece of paper, it's the same scene, you pair up. Then I would give you these deliberately simple instructions. With your partner, I would ask you to cut the scene in half. And the first time I give students this set of instructions, a lot of you might have had this experience. They're like, wait, with scissors? And I say, no, you're just going to scratch out half of the lines that make up the scene. And by the end of this activity, you will have the same scene, but it will just be half as long. That's it. And then I would step back and leave you to it. And I wouldn't say anything else. I wouldn't say like what you should be looking for when you cut, what you should be looking for when you keep, none of that. Like super simple instructions. I step back, get out of the way, and then there's chitter chatter. But because, as we have all been learning, teaching online is more complicated, let me explain how this is going to work for us professionals tonight on Zoom. So in a moment, we'll reveal the scene that you're working with by pasting 2 links in the chat box. One link will lead you to the Microsoft Word version of the scene, which you can open and edit directly. I totally recommend that you do this. This will be easier for the cutting than trying to use a PDF, which is the other link that we'll post. The only reason we're going to give you, the only reason that we're giving you the PDF is because sometimes Microsoft Word documents look wonky on screen. So do the Microsoft Word document if you can. You are going to have to edit text on your own device. Everyone is going to do this, okay? Everyone has the chance, the wonderful opportunity to do this. It's like, yes, it's an opportunity. Then we're going to send you off into your breakout rooms to work with a partner, or in some cases, 2 partners. In your breakout room, you and your colleague will read the scene out loud. And here's a hint. You might want to just take turns reading paragraphs out loud. But you're adults, you can go wild. Then, after that, the real fun begins. You and your partner will start making decisions and having debates about what lines to keep in the scene and what lines to cut. Don't sweat the small stuff. If you must, don't sweat the small stuff. And if you omit most of a line, consider it cut. In other words, if there's a line in the scene that has 10 words and you really need to keep one of those words to make a sentence work, that's fine. You can consider that line cut. So as long as you cut out most of a line, you can consider it cut. You and your partner must end up with the same script in the end, and that's because we're going to invite some groups to share out afterwards. Please don't stress out about time. Don't stress out about your finished product. The process here matters way more than the product. And that's true with our students as well. So after 15, 20-ish minutes of giving you time to cut the scene in half in your breakout room, we'll check in and we'll reconvene as a community. A few quick Zoomy things to share that we've learned by trying this out. Make sure that you've pulled up the scene on your screen before we assign you to a breakout room, and they're linked right here in the chat box. Once you're in your breakout room, watch for the occasional blue message alert at the top of your screen. We promise we're not going to send you those unless we absolutely have to. These messages are from us, and they are the Zoom equivalent of in real life when we say, hey, everybody, 2 minutes left. Y'all good with that? So that's what the blue message will be. In your breakout rooms, you will no longer be able to chat with everyone, but you will be able to ask for help. This is super important. It'll send a flag to the host. Because there are 74 of you, and because the Folger method is all about teachers getting out of the way and letting students grapple and wrestle themselves with the text, we're asking you not to ask for help unless there's a tech emergency or there's like a burning question that is just totally tripping you up, because you've totally got this. So we're thinking that you won't need to ask for help, but we're here in case you do. That's it for the whole set of instructions. I know it's a lot. Whew. At the end of the day, you and your partner are just cutting this scene in half. That's all you need to do. And we are going to post just some reminders on the screen for you so that you have them in case you need to refer to them. So that's it from me. It's breakout time.
Yep, I'm going to get ready to take over really quickly technology-wise.
Yay!
So if you click on the doc one, the doc link, it's going to send you to another window, and then you're going to go ahead and click on the blue link there, and it'll be able to download for you. And if you just click on the PDF, it will pop up right away. In a moment, I'm going to get ready to send you to your breakout rooms. And so again, if you need anything, you can just ask for help, but we're all in this together.
Thank you.
We're going to try it out. It's going to be great. All right, I'm opening all rooms now. So you can go ahead and just join your room. I see some people have already joined. And people will start to disappear. Excellent, excellent. Okay, we're just, let's see. Wait until everyone is in their breakout room. Let's see. Let's see, move to breakout room 30. And then if you're just coming back in, you should be joining a breakout room. Let's see. Shantae, can you go to breakout room 23? Thanks. And then let me move. Oop. Corinne is not there, so let me move.
It wants to send me to 27.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me move Maggie to a different breakout room. Okay, they're both in there. Stephanie, let me move her to a breakout room. 23.
We're giving you all a good bit of time to, when you get to your breakout room, you'll have time to dig into this. You're not missing.
Unassigned, assigned to, let's see. Hello, if you're just joining us, I'm about to just assign you really quickly to a breakout room. Give me 1 moment so I can see breakout room 22. There we go. All right, everyone should be in a breakout room.
Looks like we have 4 people who are not. And actually, you could be a group right here if you wanted to be. No, never mind.
Let me see what group they're in. Let's see, move to breakout room 11. Let's see. I think right now I have, let's see, who is?
So Miriam, we have Lori and Jeffrey and Jennifer.
Yeah,
And if you all want to talk right here, I think you could.
sure.
Yeah, let me see.
Let's do that because we're running out of time.
Yep, I can, let me.
They're here.
Yep, if you all just pull up the document on your screen, you would be able to talk about it here.
We won't listen. We'll pretend pretend that we're not listening.
Oh, good.
It would be like observing a class.
Oh,
So
I see.
fun.
Yeah.
Breakout room.
So if you guys have the document up, then you should just get going.
Okay.
And those of you who are faceless will have to use your voices, I believe.
Okay.
Now I'm really going to stop talking.
Let's see.
Oh, I just unmuted Jennifer and Jeffrey. Are you there?
No, Jennifer has been assigned. Are you, I mean, go ahead.
Well, Lori and Shantae, would you guys like to be a pair?
Jeffrey.
Sure. That's
And
fine.
Jeffrey, are you here, Jeffrey?
Where did Miriam go?
Rock and roll, Lori and Shantae. Y'all got this.
Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, are we starting in talking or are we going to do it ourselves for a minute?
Let me pull it up.
Okay. I know I went to a breakout room and then I realized I didn't have the document, so I went back. Sorry about that.
Lori, what are we gonna do with you?
I'm so sorry. I'll find some good way to punish myself,
We're
I'm
trying
sure.
this for the first time ourselves, for heaven's.
Okay, okay,
Shantae, can you pull it up?
Yes, I got it.
All right.
great. So I already made a couple cuts in the very beginning.
Oh, look at you.
But you're
Yeah,
supposed to do
this
this
is
as a
fun.
group. Just saying.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Man, I'm just all wrong today. Okay.
No, you're good. I didn't know I was gonna be
You're not
hard.
a favorite. I can tell you right now, you're a
Shantae.
total
Try
favorite.
not to be a control freak. All right.
That's why you became a teacher. Yeah.
That's right. I
Yeah.
don't like this whole Folgers thing about no teacher in the way. What is that? Okay. Overrated.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it.
Let's see. So we got in his big old armchair, he looked much smaller. I mean, we could get rid of, I'm kind of on the word level here.
Mm-hmm.
We could get rid of gold, even though it's a lovely detail.
And his,
see.
yeah.
Pretty young man. I'm just going to get rid of gold just because, there you go.
Corinne, you need to start
Armchair.
talking here.
Yeah, hi, I'm here. I'm trying to get out of the way. Just cut out entire lines, the two of you, and it might be a great, what we would have students do in class is actually have them read it out loud together. So
Right.
y'all can just like get on
Okay.
the same page. So maybe take turns reading paragraphs and then figure out
Okay.
entire lines that you want to.
Okay.
All right.
I can start. Is that cool?
Go for it.
Okay. In his big armchair, he looked much smaller than I imagined him, looming as he always was from some wall or other. He was wearing a fancy white uniform with gold fringe uplets and a breast of medals like an actor playing a part.
Yeah, I think we can cut all that stuff about looming and how he used to look and just cut it at, and just keep it at smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, are you going to read?
Oh, I'm sorry. We took our places. He was turned towards a young man also wearing a uniform. I knew it was his handsome son, Ramphis, a full colonel in the army since he was 4 years old. His picture was always in the papers. How about, let's take out his picture was always in the papers.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay. And let's see. Do we need, we took our places? What do you think?
Took our places, but he didn't seem to notice. No.
Okay.
Nah. X that out.
Here's a little hint. You might change your mind about some of these after you read the whole thing.
Yeah. That's true. We shouldn't just take them out now. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just putting a line through them for now.
Yeah.
Ramphis looked our way and whispered something to his father, who laughed loudly. How rude, I thought. After all, we were here to pay them compliments. The least they could do was pretend that we didn't look like fools in our ballooning togas and beards and bows and arrows. Looked our way.
I'm thinking that whole, the least they could do is pretend that we didn't look like fools.
Least we can do.
I'm gonna put something about that. Let me see what my options are here. Okay, we're gonna make that a different color. Okay, good. All right, sorry, here we come. Let me just make this big again because I'm old. Trujillo nodded for us to start. We stood frozen, gawking, until Sanita finally pulled us all together by taking her place. I was glad I got to recline on the ground because my knees were shaking so hard I was afraid that the fatherland might faint right on the spot.
I just like we stood frozen gawking, or even just gawking.
Like we could cut that, you mean, or keep it?
Just keep that.
Yeah, okay. And get rid of Trujillo nodded for us to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we could even get really radical and I like that part about reclining on the ground though. Okay, hold on. Let me get that.
We stood frozen gawking. Unless we just have we stood frozen gawking, and then just start the next line, reclined to the ground, reclined on the ground.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's see.
Just get rid of all of that.
Okay, we said, so we're gonna skip the part about Sunita. I think she needs to take her place.
Yeah.
So that's essential information. Maybe we could cut, maybe we could just start with, by taking her place and then going, my knees were shaking so hard.
Oh, there are a lot more people in here.
Okay. Hi. I have no idea. All I can see is the document. Okay, I'm just gonna
Muted.
that.
Hi.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Miraculously, we all remembered our lines. As we said them out loud, our voices gathered confidence and became more expressive. Once, when I stole a glance, I saw that the handsome Ramfis and even El Jefe were caught in our performance.
Okay. All I can think of there's that clause of as we said them out loud. I know we're supposed to.
Hi, we have a lot more people in this room. This is fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Hi, you guys.
Hey, we're just talking about the scene together.
Hi. No, the timer, there was a timer in our breakout room and it went to 0. So that's why we
Oh, you're back. Cool.
So obedient.
yeah, we were like, oh, the
To the
timer
timer.
says 0.
We gotta get back. But you guys are more advanced then.
So would you like to have more time in your breakout groups?
I think we got it done.
Yeah, we're good. We're
Ah,
done.
good. Okay, we're not quite done.
That's okay.
Let's
Do you want
see.
us to go out and?
No, stick
you
around.
we're all just hanging out here together. It's fun.
Yeah.
Have a drink.
Okay, let's see. Too bad we can't have.
Nice. Got a little. I do. Got my cocktail. Cosmos.
What the heck are you doing?
Okay, I know. We can cut that whole part about expressive. That'll work.
Yes.
Do you agree?
From as we said to expressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, next one. We moved along smoothly until we got to the part where Sunita was supposed to stand before me, the bound fatherland. After I said, over a century languishing in chains, dare I now hope for my freedom from my woes. O liberty, unfold your brilliant bow, or bow, or bow. We could cut that whole part until after I said. Although we learned that he's the bound fatherland there though, huh?
Yeah.
What if we cut up to, we started with Sunita was supposed to stand before me, the bound fatherland. And we cut everything before that. Let's do that.
Sunita was to step forward, show her brilliant bow, then having aimed imaginary arrows at imaginary foes, she was to set me free by untying me.
Well, we could get just radical as all heck and cut, just only leave Sunita was to step forward. Oh, but then if we read to the end, yeah, we need the imaginary.
Yeah, we need the, yeah.
Yeah. You guys finished fast. Let's see.
Ruthless. We were ruthless.
I mean, we could.
Sunita was to step forward, then aimed imaginary arrows at imaginary foes.
Okay, just change this. Okay, so step forward.
And get rid of from show to having.
Okay. Then we have to change the word aim, right? To aim, to just to aim. Okay, don't tell anybody.
Wait, I'm here. I hear you. No changing words.
You're gonna make us feel bad. Okay.
This is like Lori's special rule book here.
Well, I'm the teacher, damn it.
Shantae.
I'm sorry, I'm encouraging her. I'm sorry.
Well, it was Shantae's idea. It was her idea. She did it. Okay. Okay, when we got to this part, Sunita kept on stepping forward and didn't stop until she was right in front of Trujillo's chair. Slowly, she raised her bow and took aim. There was a stunned silence in the hall. Ah! I say we cut that clause of when we got to this part.
Yeah.
Supposed to cut whole lines.
She kept stepping forward and then stop.
Stop. We could get rid of slowly. Wow.
Okay, we're going to reconvene as a whole group. I
God.
think. Who knows what Zoom will let us do? But in a moment, we're going to reconvene as a whole group, we hope.
Okay.
We did our best.
We did. We did, Shantae. I feel bonded a little bit here. Okay, where am I? I have no idea where I am.
You're here, Lori. You're here.
Okay.
We're with you.
Welcome.
It's all
Okay,
good.
thank
That
you.
happens to me all the time. I can never find my Zoom meeting again.
Yeah, I'm just lost in document land, but that's okay.
Yay. Okay, everyone's coming back. This is very exciting. This is thrilling. You're not lost in Zoom cyberspace. You're back. Welcome
This
back.
is awesome. I love this. I want to learn to do this.
I know, me
Good.
too. I'm
Me
like,
too.
okay.
Me too.
Me too.
Mhm.
I think it's like the real teacher nerd in me where I like got the notification that we had 1 minute left and I'm like, I want to do that. How do I
We were on a roll. We weren't done.
Yes, that is exactly what happens in class too, Vicky. Like kids will keep working and it's the best thing. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Do we
like
have
the power.
do we have everyone back, Miriam? Miriam is the host of the whole party. You're on mute, Miriam.
Miriam is off vocal.
Yes, all friends are back.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, yay, friends. Okay, thank you. Thank you for trying and daring with us. Okay, let's talk about this. So just like Miriam did with the color purple, I'm going to ask you questions first about the language, questions that we would ask our students, and then we're going to put our teacher hat on and just debrief a little bit about the activity itself. Before we do all that, though, it would be great if we could hear a couple different versions from you. So we are going to ask for a couple groups to volunteer to read their cutting. And I'm going to remind all of you, don't sweat the small stuff. Like, we're well aware that you just cut a scene from a novel you may never have read before on Zoom with a person you might never have met before. So like, we're very gracious here. Anything that you got, we want to hear, because the whole point is just to hear a bunch of different versions of this.
So if you just raise your hand, so Rebecca, I see you. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
That's great, Rebecca. And if you would read your group's scene, that would be great. We want to just hear from one voice at a time, please.
Okay, now I'm trying to figure out how to go back to my. How do I go back to the what I was?
If you're sharing your screen, I don't know if we can see our cut.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I can stop sharing.
If you double tap your screen,
Okay.
it'll go to smaller and you can see it.
Okay. All right. So now I can just read it. We don't want to share it, right?
See it there at all.
Nope, you can just read it.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. So Aaron, this is Aaron and I's. Okay. He looked much smaller than I had imagined him, looming, wearing a fancy white uniform with gold fringe epaulets, like an actor playing a part. We took our places. Ramphis looked our way and whispered something to his father, who laughed loudly. How rude. The least they could do was pretend that we didn't look like fools. Trujillo nodded for us to start. We stood frozen, gawking, until Sunita finally pulled us all together by taking her place. Miraculously, we remembered our lines. We moved along smoothly until we got to the part when Sunita was supposed to stand before me, the bound fatherland. Sunita was to step forward, show her brilliant bow. But when we got to this part, Sunita kept on stepping forward and didn't stop until she was right in front of Trujillo's chair. Slowly, she raised her bow and took aim. There was a stunned silence in the hall.
Thank you.
yes.
Thanks, Rebecca and Aaron. Okay, in the chat box, will you all share anything that you notice about that cutting?
Chat is disabled.
Chat will.
Thank you. We're gonna
Yep.
we're gonna tighten this up, friends.
It says everyone publicly.
Just did it. You guys are good.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks, Shantae. Yes, in the chat box. What did you notice about this cutting? What did they cut? What did they keep? What was the effect of any of that? Any observation? Sherry, they did not use the poem. They cut some lines I wish I would have thought about cutting, says Jess. I like how you cut sentences, but the flow remained. They kept many of the same things our group kept. They kept many of the details we cut. Conflict. It made sense. I would not cut any of the poem. Okay, all right. Debate. Descriptors were gone. I also liked how you cut in the middle of sentences. Okay, great. Great. Let's hear another group's version. Thank you, everyone.
So if another group would like to raise their hand.
Oh, and we got another great comment from Tina. I like that they kept her attitude toward Trujillo. Cool.
Scroll down.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Erin and Rebecca.
And if anybody else would like to share, you can just raise your hand as well on this. Scrolling down, scrolling down. Am I missing someone? Guess we'll do that teacher thing and just wait.
Diane is raising her hand and Joyce said she.
Thank you. Oh, and I see Jenny as well. Jenny, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and Diane, I'll mute you after that.
Okie dokie.
If we're having a party in your house, could you like mute yourself just to say? Because we don't want to miss anything these guys have to say. Jenny, you go.
Thanks,
Alrighty.
Jenny.
So he was wearing a white fancy uniform with gold fringe epaulets and a breast of medals like an actor playing a part. He was turned towards the young man, his handsome son Ramphis, a full colonel in the army since he was 4 years old. Trujillo nodded for us to start. We stood frozen, gawking until Sunita finally pulled us all together by taking her place. Miraculously, we all remembered our lines. As we said them out loud, our voices gathered confidence and became more expressive. Once, when I stole a glance, I saw that the handsome Ramphis and even El Jefe were caught up in our performance. Sunita was to step forward, show her brilliant bow, then having aimed imaginary arrows at imaginary foes, she was to set me free by untying me. But when we got to this part, Sunita kept on stepping forward and didn't stop until she was right in front of Trujillo's chair. Slowly, she raised her bow and took aim. There was a stunned silence in the hall.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny, and your colleague.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, what did we notice about this version? This one was different. Lots of action. Cut heavily in the beginning. Kept more character description, fast pace, very action driven. I like how you kept that the son was in the army since he was 4. Kept Trujillo's name. It had a great flow, but there was no inner life from the speaker. It flowed well. They made different choices, cut a whole paragraph. They also cut the poem. I know, English teachers cutting poetry, y'all. More focus on Trujillo and son than we left in, showing a different perspective. Good focus on the action. Yeah, this one zoomed right in on Trujillo at the beginning. Awesome, great. Thank you so much, everybody. So as teachers, thinking about this activity as a way to introduce a piece of text to students, what are your observations about this activity? Chat box or your voice in your face?
You have the ability to unmute yourself if you want to just share out loud.
It makes me really interested in who these characters are, because I know a lot of our discussion was who's important here and are we supposed to cut them? Do they matter? And so that almost made me want to know more about the characters, because we only have the passage, we didn't have any context, neither of us had read it. So that was kind of my takeaway for wanting me to read more now, because who are these people? Why is she pointing a bow at him? That's my takeaway.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good way to look at author style and voice. Specifically, if you're looking at, I can see looking at this, say, from, possibly putting a layer on there where cut this using Hemingway, using sort of Hemingway's iceberg theory and doing that kind of thing, so that how might Hemingway actually cut a story like this? So really getting into sort of authorial voice.
I really like the conversations that take place when you do the line cuts. I've done it before in the class, and Gina and I were going back and forth, and we were both saying, oh my gosh, I kept that too. Yeah, I like that one too. And we really realized that we were focusing on the action that was driving it. But the first group that went, they were really focused on more like the characterization. And so I love the focuses that change in those conversations that take place, and just kind of the bond that students get to share over that.
And the thing that I just love, going back to Nabokov, the best readers are rereaders, is that, you know, that first read, we're completely cold and we have no idea what's going on. By the second read, we're already getting a feel for the characters. By the third read, we're getting a sense of the language. It demands us to reread, which is, it's such a powerful tool, and it was fun. So this was really terrific. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah, so I deliberately don't say cut for plot or cut for meaning. I just say cut it in half. And I've actually had students who got in like vociferous debates with their friends about, and maybe you all had this in your breakout room, but we couldn't hear you, vociferous debates with their friends about which lines to keep and cut. And I had one young student who kept just what she thought were the most beautiful lines in a scene, and like there was no story. She was cutting Othello. There was no story. She just kept beautiful lines and phrases, and that was her choice, and that was her call, and it generated great discussion, as a lot of you pointed out. And so we are deliberately vague and basic in our instructions so that students can really own this process and own the language for themselves and defend their positions, and develop their own voices as readers and as thinkers. So like you all get this, like you're doing this work every day in your classrooms. This is just another tool in your toolbox. Another thing that you can do too with these, and this is kind of along what you were mentioning, Jack, is once your kids get into the routine of cutting, because these Folger essentials are routines that you revisit throughout the year, and your students are like, oh, it's time to cut a text. This is great. This is fun. I don't want to stop. Once they get into this routine, you can give groups what I call secret missions. So sometimes we will we'll run around the room. I don't know how you would do this on Zoom. I have a headache even thinking about it, but you'll figure it out, guys. You can walk around the room and say, okay, your secret mission is to make Desdemona look really strong. Your secret mission is to make Desdemona look really weak. Your secret mission is to do, I think Peggy did a zombie version of a scene once, you know, because it's just Peggy and like what, she's wildly creative. And so you can give groups different secret missions and then have all the groups perform their versions and have the rest of the class guess what their secret mission was. So that's just another riff on this essential, but really the essential practice is just cut the scene in half. And then the key part is to allow students to perform. You got to hear from at least 2 different groups so that you show that there's a broad highway of possibilities, and as long as your car is on the road, you're good. And so we want to celebrate the multiplicity in interpretations and all that. And then this is just what you're saying in the chat box too. The collaboration is great. My kids would want more time. This was really fun. We talked about how great it was for us to reread. Someone said you can visit breakout rooms. Oh yes, we can, but we want to give you space, you know, respect. I love that it couldn't just be a passive reading of it. I had to produce something and share it with the group. There are a lot of great comments here. We'll make sure that we share these in the archive too.
I want to point out a question, which is Tina's question about do you do this with text that students haven't read yet? Will you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, totally, yes. So thank you. I missed that question. There were so many great comments in the box. So totally. So this can be a way to introduce the novel. Like Erica said, that this scene's really juicy. We picked it on purpose because it's got a kind of cliffhanger and it makes you want to know what's going on. So this could be an introduction to the book. So a lot of these activities you could actually have your students do before they ever get the books in their hands or on their devices. So this is actually a way to read and understand. A lot of times, I remember when I was first using performance and before I came to the Folger and I learned all this, I sometimes thought about performance as like this thing that you do at the end, right? Or cutting this, it's like the culmination. Like after kids have done all the seat work and it's really quiet, then they can do this other stuff. And what we know at the Folger is that these essentials are actually, this is close reading, as a lot of you pointed out. So you can have your students do this as a way of introducing a text. You can also have them do it as a way of reading a chapter, right? Like think of like the most boring, well, think of think of a chapter that you don't cut from an assignment, you keep, but that is kind of a slog. This is a really juicy way to get through it. And kids really love it, and they love owning it and debating about it. I don't know, so there's so many of you in this group, I think, who would use cutting in your classroom. So if you want to speak to where it falls in your unit or in your year, that would be great.
I think also the idea of cutting is part of the work, and that even if you work with the best people of Shakespeare, there's going to be some cutting. It's too long these days. So the idea that making it your own, being intelligent about how you do it, but it also gives them some ownership of the lines, you know. So I think it's not the very first thing I do. But I would do it after they were a little more familiar.
Thanks, John.
And I think I would do it like right up front, because now my kids want to know what's happened to get me to this point. And then once you get to that point, they already own that scene. And now they want to see what happens after this point. So I'm not really having to do anything to like prep them for it. Like they're already prepped if this is my intro activity.
That's actually true. That's what I use it for. We start in the beginning, and then we have this cutting lines, we cut the scene down, and then everyone remembers which scene they got. If they're working with the same scene, then if they had that scene, they're like, oh, I wouldn't have cut that if I'd known this is what he said. And they have a way of tracing like character development and so on, because they come back to it and they have to now defend their choices, or now say, oh, no, this is not how I would do it. Which is kind of nice because it keeps the unit cohesive without me making extra effort. Do you remember 2 weeks ago when you said it's now they remember because they cut the line, they own the scene?
That's awesome, Rama and Susan. We're running just a little bit out of time. I know that we could talk about this activity forever. You have so many great insights. I hate to cut it short, but I want to make sure that we respect your time, and I leave enough time for Peggy to share a few key things with you. Before I turn things over to Peggy, I just would love for you to connect this back to these 8 foundational principles that we've been talking about. Like, these are the core beliefs of this way of teaching text to students, to all students. And so if you had to choose a word or phrase from these 8 principles on your screen to sum up your experience cutting the scene from In the Time of the Butterflies, what word or phrase would that be? And you could just drop that in the chat box. We'll be reading them and sharing them.
So I'm seeing connector, equity, language as a portal, teacher as an architect, agency, always agency, interaction.
No single interpretation.
On fire.
That makes our night. Thanks.
Throw out. These are great. Thank you. Can't wait to do this. Excitement about literature. Excitement, amplify the voice of every student. Awesome. Great. So we really just wanted to share with you tonight a couple essential practices that work with any text. And on the next slide, Miriam, I don't know if you can show that one. This is kind of amazing. In these COVID community conversations that we've been having, we have done a whole lot of new stuff with you, but we've also given a kind of mini course or a crash course in the Folger method. So tonight we did some tossing words, and we did cutting a text. And then a couple weeks ago, we did tone and stress. Last week, you all put on a 20-minute play. And we also did a good deal of choral reading. So a bunch of these essential practices can become routines in your classroom. If you missed any of those, you can check out the archive on the website and watch the videos where you all intrepid teachers did these essential practices over Zoom in the middle of a pandemic. And this is a moment in time, and we're just really grateful. So that's it. I'm done. Thanks, everyone. This was fun.
That was great. Thanks, you guys. You're quite a fabulous group.
Thank you.
So all I want to do is by way of wrapping this up, just to remind you, first of all, thank you. This is great. we learned a ton from you. And also you are a wonderful group. And this, also what we're trying to demonstrate is also how this works on Zoom, but also how this works even when you don't know a class and you don't know people and people don't know each other. There is something about language, good language written by all kinds of people that really brings us all together. Just to say that next week, I mentioned earlier that next Wednesday night, which is June 3rd, is the last one of these Wednesday meetings that we're going to do. We are planning a kind of a reunion on July 29th. We asked for people's opinions about that, and we got a lot of good comments about how we should do that. And so we're planning that on July 29th. We'll let you know about that. But next week, we have some ideas about next week, because we're kind of, the first one of these sessions was on February 27th. At the very beginning, even before schools started to shut down, but we sort of had a sense about what was coming. We had a sense that something was coming. We didn't know what it was going to look like, right? And we had a professional development session scheduled for February 27th. And we said, yeah, well, we're not going to do that, but come with us into this Zoom meeting and let's talk about what we can do in terms of what's coming. And what 120 people showed up on February 27th and said, here's what you can do, Folger. Keep having these meetings, make them longer, and demonstrate for us and tell us how to do some of this stuff online. So everything that we've been doing because you said this is what we need, and so we want to do it. So for us, it has been quite a trip. Not as important as the trip that you have been on, and many of you are still on, not nearly as important, but important for us because we are serving you who are doing the most important work. Anyway, so all that to say that next week is the last one of these in a series. It's the 9th. No, it's the 10th one. It's the 9th one. I can't remember.
Number 10.
It's number 10. So, and we have some ideas about what to do in this kind of wrap up for the moment session, but we want to know what those of you who think you can make it, some of you, if you teach in New York, you got a long way to go before school's over, right? And also in at least in Massachusetts that we know. If there are things that you are particularly looking for, we can't guarantee anything. Don't ask us for Kenneth Branagh to appear because we're not going to be able to deliver him. But tell us what they are. Either put them in the chat box now or send us an email, send any of us an email and tell us what would be meaningful to you in the hour next week, the hour and 15 minutes or something that we would have to spend together. Because we want to know, as always, we ask you what would be helpful to you and we want to see if we can do it. And so that's my last question. Thanks to Miriam, thanks to Corinne, Shantae Bryant, Baptism by Fire, good job. Next week we're going to introduce you all to our secret weapon in these things, who is Katie Dvorak, who's the other part of our department who's really key. She's lurking here somewhere, but Katie, we're saving you for a big entrance next week. So let us know what you would like, what would be helpful to you next week, and have a good week. We'll miss you. We always miss you. Actually, in Madison has come to say good night.
She's like, I'm part of the party as well.
Send you guys off to bed.
Yes. And then just as a reminder, this recording will be posted tomorrow afternoon or evening on the Teaching During COVID-19 page at folger.edu. And so I'll go ahead and share, because I think we got a question about that. I'll go ahead and share the site. And I'll put it in the chat box in just a moment, but it's right here. So our 10th conversation will be Wednesday, June 3rd, as Peggy said, at 7. And then everything will be posted on Thursday. And then if you want to keep up with us, even when the conversations have taken a pause, if you sign up for Bard Notes, you'll get all the latest information. And that's
Thank you. Thanks you all.
Thank everyone. Thank you everyone for joining us. Say good night, Madison.
Thank you. Good night, Madison.
Yay. Okay, let me put that in the chat
Thanks,
box for
everybody.
everyone.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Rest is silence.
Good night, you guys. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
People on the West Coast, you're just moving into the cocktail hour.
Great, Madison.